Something's happening to men, to fathers, to husbands, to single men, to teenagers, to boys. It's a metamorphosis. It's a transformation. It's a morphing. What is it? And why is it happening now? And could there be a dark and ancient mystery behind it? This is Jonathan Cahn, and this is The Return of the Gods. Return of the Gods is the book, the latest book that I've written that reveals everything that is happening right now in your world, in our culture, what's even touching your life and the people in your life. It's about the return of the ancient spirits, where this is all going, how they're taking possession of our culture, where the future will take us, and what you need to know to prevail. This is the mystery. And I spoke of the Dark Trinity, and the second one of the Dark Trinity, called the Enchantress, who is the goddess of sexuality. And from this one, as she enters into our culture, comes the sexual revolution. But I found this strange thing about her, that she is also the principality that it says, the ancient inscriptions say she merges gender. She turns a man into a woman and a woman into a man. And so that is why we are witnessing this right now in our culture. Ultimately, there's a dark mystery behind it. I found another inscription that says, she grinds away the masculinity of men. She grinds away the masculinity of men. So as she comes into a culture, we're going to see it. What would we expect to see? We expect to see a grinding away of masculinity. So what is that? Demasculinization or emasculization of men. She will war against masculinity in men. So what would we expect to see? We've seen it. We're seeing it. A war against men. The goddess, interesting, in her mythology, this Ashtoreth, this goddess challenged the authority of her father, whose name was Anu, who was the head. It was a, quote, patriarchy. So she had a problem with that. So there's a rage in our culture against the so-called, quote, patriarchy. She had a problem with males, with male leadership. She had a problem with males, period. She ended up destroying the lovers that she had. So there's a spirit in our culture that wars against masculinity in men, or authority in men. It rages against it. It was an anger. And it's interesting, it came at the same time of the sexual revolution in the 60s. It's the spirit of the goddess. It's the rage of the goddess that came into radical feminism. It grinds away, seeks to remove men. This is what the goddess does. Remove men from marriage. Remove men from fatherhood. Remove men from manhood. It attacks fatherhood as well. You know, in the early 60s or late 50s, you had a show on television called Father Knows Best. You could never have that today. Today, fathers are depicted as bumbling idiots, overgrown children, or toxic tyrants and dangerous. This spirit, this part of this spirit is rechanneling boys and young men away from being protectors, away from being providers, away from being husbands and fathers. They're taking the natural impulse to defend and protect and putting it into video games. Taking the natural impulse for family and putting it into pornography. So it is the emasculating of men. At the same time, it's the feminizing of men. It's interesting because if a man acts, quote, masculine, the culture will condemn him. If a woman acts masculine, the culture applauds him. What is that? Think about how strange that is. She grinds away the masculinity of men. And so, by doing so, she destroys marriage. She destroys fatherhood. If she can destroy fatherhood, she can alter society. She can alter families, marriage. She can alter lives. Remember that I shared early on in this about the mystery of spirits. In that one, I shared how the Bible says that behind the gods were really these spirits called the Shedim, and the Shedim is linked to the root word destroyer. So the idea is destroy. In the end, the promise was liberation, but it ends up with destruction of man, of woman, of marriage, of family, of lives. This is just a taste of what is revealed, the mystery that's revealed in full in The Return of the Gods, my latest book I've written. And this is revealing everything that's happening now, behind it, what is happening, what you need to know, where is it going, what's the future, how do you prevail. The Return of the Gods is available everywhere, wherever there are books you can get it for yourself, but also for people in your life who need to know. Next time, we're going to open up the mystery that corresponds with this one, the principality that is behind the morphing of women. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. This is Jonathan Cahn. I'll see you next time with the morphing of women. So she is seeking now to make modern women into her own image, which is women with male attributes, male natures. The goddess was a warrior.